cracking down on drunk driving, which, of course, I'm not suggesting you go out and drunk drive, but they want to go out and ban all these things and put sanctions on all these type of activities. Meanwhile, they would be more than happy to kill a child in the womb. So it's like once the child is out the womb, we have to ban everything to protect the child, to put it in its little safe space like on South Park. But while it's in the womb, you can punch it, kick it, or rip it out, rip its head out. What the guy do, Kermit? He was twisting the heads off like a doll. Also, the lady saying that they would use the body parts and sell them for Lamborghinis. You can do all these horrific things to the child if it's in the womb, but as soon as it comes out, then they act like it's an actual person. No, it's a person even before it's born, even though you try to pretend that it is not. And as we're talking about people who pretend like things are not, Hillary Clinton wants you to think that Benghazi was not a big deal. I think it pretty much is, because they want to tell you that the situation with the Ambassador Stevens, was pretty much a miscommunication. What difference does it make? So you have a woman who has a private email server who, in my mind, would make her more accessible to it. If you have your own thing, you're like, I don't want to use something provided to me by the government. I have my own thing, which will allow me to respond to emails or information quicker. Fine, if it helps you do your job. But it obviously did not, as is the case with Benghazi, because Ambassador Stevens, for months before his death, was begging Mrs. Clinton, the situation's getting hot out here. Mrs. Clinton, can you give me more security? Mrs. Clinton, all the way up to the day of his death. And at that point, they did not give him more security. They actually took security away from him. Now, other people will tell you that it had something to do with arms and all this stuff. We don't have to focus on that. We can just focus on the bare issue that this man was dead or died because of Mrs. Clinton, who was out doing her campaign trail or greasing the skids for it. She has time to run around to all the feminist colleges and give speeches, but she doesn't have time to check the cables would have actually saved this man's life. And that's a very long-winded way of saying CNN reporter coordinated with Hillary aide to smear Rand Paul during the 2013 Benghazi hearing. Because you guys recall, Rand Paul is like, do you know anything about the arms shipments to Turkey? And she's like, to Turkey?
Is the U.S. involved with any procuring of weapons, transfer of weapons, buying, selling, anyhow transferring weapons to Turkey out of Libya?
To Turkey?
Stay tuned after this for more special reports.
And all you ISIS people threatening us, hey, we're not a French newspaper, okay? We got people that have taken your asses out in this building right now. We're armed to the teeth, and we're not scared. You got that, you sons of bitches? This is Texas. You want to threaten me, you can go straight to hell. You understand that?
Never water yourself down just because someone can't handle you at 100 proof. It's the Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Shane Steiner's involvement with InfoWarsLife.com truly happened in an organic way. I went to high school with Shane, his brother, knew his parents well, and he was visiting the office once, hadn't been to the office in years, and said, wow, I notice you're making and selling supplements. Do these really work? Because I've tried a lot of supplements as a workout enthusiast, and I really think most of them are hype. And I said, here, take some home, try it. Well, a few weeks later, he came in blown away and said, I want to buy 3 boxes of this stuff to give my friends and family. It's simply amazing. He said, why does it work so well? And I said, listen, go to InfoWarsLife.com, watch the informational videos with Dr. Group and others. They understand how it all works. I know that it works for me. That's all I understand. The science, the facts, the research, people's testimonials, they're all on InfoWarsLife.com. You can check it out for yourself.
I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to push myself and work out harder. And that led to me being able to come out and do stuff like the barefooting and the surfing and stuff like that, which I've never done. I never would have done that 2 years ago.
Shane has said over and over again, more than just libido and energy, it made him want to get into the gym more. It made him want to get in better shape. And believe me, the Steiners have amazing genetics. His brother is a world champion steer wrestler. His dad, Bobby Steiner, is a famous world champion bull rider. They've got natural genetics. But when you added this to the mix, in Shane's own words, it took him to the next level. Shane noticed the mental clarity, Bobby was able to work out longer and gain muscle mass. He's already completely shredded. I gotta admit, for me, the biggest effect has been libido. Now, I've never claimed to have a body like some beach model, but back when I was 20, 22 years old and worked out every day, I looked great. But over the years, and being married, having 3 kids, and working 18 hours a day, I gained basically 100 pounds. And it's been a long process losing that weight in the last 4 years. But if you look at the photos and the videos of what I looked like 4 or 5 years ago versus today, the results are dramatic. I'd already cleaned up my diet, I was working out hard, but I'd only lost about 20 pounds. It was adding the other key ingredients from InfoWarsLife.com that helped me personally go to the next level and shed another 35 pounds.
This has actually made me feel so good that here lately, about a year ago, I started training jiu-jitsu, and that kind of led to doing some boxing and kickboxing. I mean, it's amazing that 2 years ago, I was on the couch and couldn't even tie my shoes, and now I'm training with MMA fighters and just doing stuff that I never thought that I would be doing ever again. So Super Male Vitality has allowed me to do some amazing things, and if it has those kind of effects for me, I know that it will do great things for you. So just try Super Male Vitality. I promise you, you'll love it.
And finally, let's look at Anthony Gucciardi, InfoWars.com reporter. He also works with Dr. Group and others, helping develop the newest, most cutting-edge, high-quality supplements. Let's take a look at what happened when he tried to barefoot ski for the first time with the Steiners. And remember, we're not making fun of him. He had the will to get in the arena, and he's lost more than 10 pounds in the last few years of fat and gained more than 10 pounds of muscle. And Anthony chalks it up to Super Male Vitality as well. Bottom line, folks, you want to discover the power of Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality for yourself by visiting InfoWarsLife.com today or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
We're going to talk about the recent situation involving Russia and Turkey. A lot of he said, she said. Now we have the Russian foreign minister saying it was a planned provocation. And now we're having the debate, David. Did they go over into Turkey? Did they have a prior warning? They're saying conflicting reports on that. They were warned 5 times, 10 times. They say 0 times on the Russian side. I know you've been following this. What exactly is going on?
Well, good news. Somebody in the U.S. government administration was maybe trying to de-escalate this, Jakari, because they talked to Reuters and they said it looks like the Russians were in Syrian territory the entire time. So that would be good. What we also learned today was they had a press conference and they had the jet pilot who was shot down, who survived. And he said that he knew the region like the back of his hand. He couldn't possibly have flown into Turkish airspace. He was at the controls. He said Turkey did not give any visual signal or radio signal before the jet was shot at. He said there were no warnings, either by radio or visual. There was no contact whatsoever. If they wanted to warn us, they could have shown themselves by taking a parallel course, but there was nothing. The missile hit the tail of our aircraft suddenly. We didn't see it in time to do an anti-missile maneuver. Now, at the same time, the Russian foreign minister came out and said, as you mentioned, Jakari, that it looks like a planned provocation. He says, we have serious doubts that it was unintentional. It looks like a planned provocation, an obvious ambush. He says, it seems to me there were some contrived statements by NATO members. He says, we know that they had a meeting yesterday. You can't hide that. That's 28 different countries. And he says the fact that they have so many members there, some information leaks out. He said, we learned that it was very hot in there, a very heated debate. Turkey was sharply rebuked for the attack on Russia's plane. Okay, so all of this looks very similar. This could be just one person's, one side saying this, one side saying the other thing. Except as I mentioned yesterday, there were questions about why there was so many professional television broadcasters.
Yes, that's a very good question.
Exactly. There was a private Turkish broadcaster, Haberturk TV, but there was also footage from Turkey's Anadolu agency, which would be an official government agency. So you had multiple professional agencies who just happened to be there at the time. The Russian pilot who survived says there was no warning, which is typical protocol that you would want to do before you shoot down another jet. But I think all of this shows that this is something that is a deliberate, provocative thing. I do agree with the Russian foreign minister because of the presence of these TV production facilities there.
Yeah, because when we talk about TV production, a lot of people don't understand this. News is very reactive.
Yeah.
You know, some stations, they have things like police scanners. So in some cases, you may get there before the police, but you still have to have a lead time to get there. If we go hear about a situation at UT, we have to get in the car, load up the cameras, and go over there and get there. And then you have traffic and everything else.
Yeah.
For a camera crew just to be standing right there, it's
Two camera crews
standing right there. It's quite convenient.
And we read a tweet yesterday from a guy who says, well, did they just get lucky? You know, I mean, that seems a little bit far-fetched. But let's take a look at what Drudge pointed out yesterday in his tweet. He said, a shocking truth is unfolding. America has been arming ISIS. And I think that's precisely the point. That's what we need to focus on to keep them from panicking us in a state of fear and uncertainty and doubt about what's going on, to keep them from panicking us into getting involved in this war. Let's play this clip from John McCain talking to Neil Cavuto.
We need to have a no-fly zone. We need to have a buffer zone for refugees. We need to provide.
No, I know that, Senator, but if they are attacking the very guys who we want to see topple Assad, you would let American planes just continue to pass them and let them do that?
Okay, hold it right there. Listen to what Neil Cavuto is saying. If they're attacking our guys, the guys that we want to get in power, that's more important than stopping ISIS, isn't it? Okay, so he's saying, Senator McCain, if they're attacking the guys that we want to replace in this political game just so they can get to ISIS, are we going to let them do that? Or are we going to shoot them down? And this is what McCain has to say.
No, but I might do what we did in Afghanistan many years ago to give those guys the ability to shoot down those planes. That equipment is available.
Yeah.
Who would be shooting them down?
The Free Syrian Army.
The Free Syrian Army.
Yeah.
Because as you know, David, it was a couple years ago, he goes to Syria. He's taking pictures with the Free Syrian Army, a.k.a. the al-Qaeda rebels. And he's saying, I know these guys well and all this stuff. And then it comes out that they're actually terrorists. He's like, I have no idea who these guys were. They photobombed me, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know who they are. And of course, when he's talking about, yeah, we know how to do that. We did that in Afghanistan. Who did they give the missiles to shoot down Russian planes to?
Mujahideen.
Mujahideen and Osama bin Laden, okay? The guys who became al-Qaeda. They keep rebranding them, hoping that we're not going to connect the dots, that we forget that all this stuff is there. But as you point out, it's a Free Syrian Army. And when we showed that clip of those guys shooting the rescue helicopter with a tow missile, we zoomed in on that yesterday and we showed the American writing it clearly, an American tow missile. And that's
yes.
Okay, that was a Free Syrian Army video. Okay, these guys are shouting Allah Akbar. And as Kurt Nemo pointed out yesterday, he said McCain likes to talk about these guys as if they're his buddies, good old boys from Arizona, but they're nothing of the sort. He's got a quote from Ayub Nuri, who says, the FSA is not moderate. It doesn't claim to be. Most of its leaders and commanders have a strong jihadist tendency. They call their war against Damascus a holy war. FSA units and brigades carry Islamic names. Their black headbands are adorned with Quranic verses. They also launch their attacks and fire rockets into the cry with the cry of Allah Akbar. Exactly what we saw yesterday.
Yes.
So what they're doing, they're shooting a rescue helicopter. They're shooting pilots parachuting peacefully out of a plane that they've just, which is not what you would expect from our buddies, our guys back in Arizona, right? They're acting like terrorists, and of course blowing up the rescue helicopter. And then today we have footage showing these guys using an anti-tank missile blowing up Russian journalists close by in that area in a car. So, if they look like terrorists, they act like terrorists, they use the terrorist slogans, they're shooting journalists, they're shooting rescue helicopters, they're shooting people in parachutes, they are terrorists, and they are the Free Syrian Army. And of course, I guess we could have, though, John McCain celebrating dancing, because that equipment is now available. How did that equipment become available? Well, we pointed out back in October 10th on InfoWars, Saudi Arabia delivered 500 of these TOW anti-tank missiles to the Free Syrian Army. Same guys again. There's John McCain dancing. BBC correspondent Frank Gardner tweeted that a Saudi official confirmed the delivery of 500 TOW anti-tank missiles to the FSA. He said the delivery of TOW missiles were also provided by the CIA. So let's go back to, is there really a connection with these guys and the terrorists? Are they really terrorists? I mean, they certainly, if they look like terrorists, they act like terrorists, they talk like terrorists, they shout like terrorists. I think they're terrorists. But of course, this has been brought up before. We've had reports coming out, military reports. Sean Hannity confronted John McCain with this, and this is what McCain said.
I am concerned about this report about Syrian rebels and the ceasefire with ISIS.